Good morning.
Morning.
Buenos días.
Yes.
I'm going to be like Rocío Dúrcal today. You guys know who that is? I'm just kidding. I'm not going to sing.
You look like her.
I look like her. That's quite a compliment. I wish I could sing like her, really. Well, good morning, buenos días. Like Connie said, my name is Carla, and I'm super excited, and I'm humbled to be here with you today. It's actually, I've never spoken at a California Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I've been doing this, as Connie said, for 13 plus years, but really traveling the world specifically for leadership and success seminars. So I actually get to teach one of the subjects that I personally love, and I feel that, if in my humble opinion, is probably one of the most important things when it comes to a business. And before I do that, though, I would like to introduce myself a little bit, tell you who I am, where I come from, and kind of give you a little bit of an idea of where all this information, especially in this new company, Entrepreneur Intelligence, we're the foundation of all this. And although I look 21, I have had decades and decades of experience with entrepreneurship, and it really started when I was like 5, 6 years old. You know, I am originally from Uruapan, Michoacán, Mexico, and you're from there too?
No, but
I like it. Okay. I like your guys' energy. So I'm originally from Uruapan, Michoacán, Mexico, where at the age of 5, 6 years old, I was literally being groomed to be an entrepreneur. How many of you guys own a business? Raise your hand. Even if you didn't shower, I want to see those hands. Fantastic. Okay, so we're gonna have a lot of fun. Okay, so one of the things you can count on me for, you're gonna learn a lot, but we're gonna have a good time. Because if we don't have a good time, it's kind of one of those things we go to meetings, and I don't like to have boring meetings. So I encourage you to, if you have a question, raise your hand. We're going to be very interactive. But so, like many of you guys, I have that entrepreneur spirit since I was like 5, 6 years old, and it started when I asked my grandmother for money. And she was like, okay, you quieres dinero, and it was during the posada season, the Christmas in Mexico, like a whole, Mexico takes a whole week to celebrate Christmas, right? And so she would make little things for us to sell. And immediately right there, at the age of 5, 6 years old, I knew that if I wanted something, all I had to do was go out there and sell a product or service. And to not give you so many details, we came here to the States. That sure didn't change. My grandfather would make hangers with yarn, and would, the paletero would come out, the popsicle truck would come out, and I said, Grandpa, I want $1. Instead of him giving me $1, he would give me a bunch of hangers. And he's like, go sell these. And so that transferred to being in elementary school. My babysitter was my dad's, he owned a muffler shop. And so my babysitter was the muffler shop, and my office was his office. And as he came in, how many of you guys can relate to this? Like, you get involved in everything your family has to do. So I share this with you because I want to take you on a personal journey that we all have that entrepreneur sales inside of us. But then life happens, right? And then certain things happen where we tell ourselves a certain story that all of a sudden, for many people, it kind of turns you away from selling. Because for whatever reason, they start having this disconnection to that little girl who would be so excited to provide these hangers for somebody that my grandfather would make, that I strongly believe are the most beautiful. Actually, Connie, I let her borrow a dress once. I go, that's my grandfather's hanger. I need it back, right? Because he already passed away. So I share this with you is because all of us, one way or another, have sold, and actually we do this every day. We sell our products and services all the time. And so what happened was, my father, my whole family is very entrepreneur, but my mother wanted me to get an education. So I did what she said, and I went to USC. I got a degree in Marshall School of Business. Yes, go Trojans! And so I graduated, and I got a traditional job. And although the company was really amazing, and they were going to provide a great compensation, that little girl inside of me didn't like to go to that office and be stuck there every day. So I was there for 3 whole months, and then I quit. And with $6 to my name, I drove up to Sacramento, California, and I started my own business with Herbalife. And the reason why I picked this company was because I wanted to do a business where I could have the freedom to travel and do the things that I wanted to do, and this company was allowing me to do that. So with $6 to my name, at the age of 22, I started my business in Sacramento. And very quickly, and with a lot of hard work, here's a phrase if you have anything to write down. I'm going to share with you a lot of nuggets that people have shared with me that could make a difference for you and your life and your business. And one of them was, a very successful lady said to me, if you treat your business like $1 million business, it will respond like $1 million business. And I remember, when you're 22, you absorb everything, right? When you're young, you're like, I just graduated from college. I wanted to eat the world, right? And I did that. And I was like, I am going to have $1 million business. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what that took. But it was something that made me it excited me. And so at the age of 22, I started my business. And exactly 13 months later, I qualified to this position called Millionaires Team, which meant that year, my business would revenue over $1 million in sales. So the power of your word, right? And a lot of hard work. And through that journey, I developed a sales team, which is what I'm going to share with you today. I developed a sales team that to this day, I still get paid because I developed them in a way that empowered them, that made a difference for them, okay? So through that opportunity, I was able to travel the world. I was able to go to different countries, as Connie already mentioned. I developed many success seminars. And for the last 13 plus years, one of the things I realized, and what it is I'm going to talk to you about today, is that there's one common denominator in all businesses. Whether you're a restaurant, whether you're dry cleaning, whatever it is, there's one common denominator, and that is the individual, the person. And I discovered that what made a business successful was not so much the business itself, but it was the people that were running the business. And so as a result of that, I have been on a journey to discover tools and unfold what makes somebody successful and what makes a salesperson specifically thrive in business. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. You guys excited?
Yeah.
All right, cool, because I sure am. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start looking at, so the objective of this meeting is how to have a clear understanding of what it takes to have an effective, and that's the key word, effective sales conversation, and how to have engaging conversations that create aliveness and connection with your client, resulting them to take action. So what I mean by this is that really, you guys, sales is nothing more than a conversation. And I'm going to show you certain techniques that if you apply them and if you take them to heart, there will be an aliveness. It will leave you alive, as well as with your partner or your prospect. And they'll have a connection with you that will cause them to take action, okay? But before we do that, I want to talk to you. I want you guys, and you don't have to say this out loud, but from your seats, I want you to start to look at how do you feel about sales, okay? Because one of the things is, if you can't, there's a saying that, I have to think in English, right? But it's like you don't know how to get somewhere unless you know where you're at. Does that make sense? Like you can't go somewhere unless you know where you're at. So let's look at where are you? I'm telling you, I'm like Rocio Durcan today. I'm so excited. Okay, so let's look at this. Number one, do you feel like when you think about sales, oh my gosh, I love it. Like the little girl, right? Like, all right, grandpa, give me the hangers, right? Or do you think like, I like it when it works, okay? Or do you feel like I do it because I have to, okay? Or I really don't like it. And lastly, I think our products should sell themselves. I want you to think about that, okay? Think about where are you? Like, do you love it? Do you like it only when it works? Do you do it because you have to? I really don't like it, or I think our product should sell ourselves. Does everybody have one of them?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so now one more thing I want to look at before we actually go into the class, and that is, and this is in some interaction with you guys, how important do you think sales are to the economy?
Very.
Why? Who wants to think, okay, go
Don't
ahead.
sell the business.
I'm sorry?
If you don't sell, there's no business.
But to the economy as a whole. Actually, you know what? You're getting ahead of me. Okay. So how important do you think it is to your business? Go ahead.
Well, I was saying that if you don't sell, there's no business.
Okay, fantastic. What else? Who else wants to take a shot at it?
Sales go is where money comes into the company,
It's where
into the country.
Okay, into the money, comes into the business, comes into the country.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was sitting next to a very amazing consultant for the government and economist. And he was sitting next to me at a flight one time, and we had a conversation about this. And he said, think about this. What would happen if for one day, just one day, all the doctors in the world went on strike? What would happen? What would happen?
People would die.
Some people would die, right? Not a good thing, but some people would die. And he went, I'm not going to go through the details, but he went through tons of professions. And then he said, what would happen if all the sales in the world stopped? Think about this. What would happen?
The economy would crash.
What
It
happened?
would crash.
Yeah, what would crash? The economy, everything would crash. Why?
Nobody's transacting.
But there's no money transacting. But why else? There's one more factor in that. And that is because everything is sales. Everything. A doctor is selling what? His services. A retail store is selling products. So everything falls under sales. And when you talk about about it being important to your business, some people might argue that accounting, sorry Connie, is the most important thing, right? Like you gotta keep the books straight. Some people would say like the products are the most important thing, the quality of your products, etc. But at the end of the day, exactly what you just said. What is your name? Guillermo. Exactly what you said, Guillermo. If money's not coming in, you've got no business, no books to balance, nothing, right? So with that said, let's go ahead and start pondering on some ideas, okay? And that is, what if your sales conversations, taking it back to what was your attitude when it comes to sales? And that is, oh yeah, we have to fill out who's here. And that is, what if your sales conversations could be enlivening, full of heart, and empowering for you and your prospect? And ponder on this one idea. What if they made you, and by the way, for those of you who have businesses, I encourage you to also think about this for your sales teams, for the people that work for you. What if they could feel good about themselves, their impact in the business, and the people they're engaging with? Because one of the things that I can honestly say humbly that I really developed a skill in is how to empower my sales team to go out there and do it. Because it's so, when you're the owner of the business, you're passionate because it's your business, and it's like at the end of the day you got to pay the bills. But how do you empower your team to be as passionate as with you? So take this not only for yourself but also for your team. So ponder on these ideas. What if the sales conversations could be enlivening, full of heart, and empowering for both you and your prospects, and more importantly, they can feel good about doing it. And then here's the other conversation, and what is your name? Gonzalo. Him and I had a conversation about this today, and that is, how many of you guys have heard the phrase ABC? Always be
Closing.
Say it again. Always be closing. You guys are not a TV, right? So you guys, I can like talk to you and you talk back to me. Okay, fantastic. So always be closing. So here's the thing I'm going to do today is I'm going to challenge that concept. I'm going to challenge that concept, okay? And that is the first thing I want to say is there's a misconception is that selling is really finding people that already want to buy your product or service. But here's why I'm going to tell you it might be a little bit of a misconception, because what if you have a product or service that most people don't know about? Or what if you have a product or service that they right now at this moment don't know that they need it? And if you're only looking for people that want your product or service, like who again owns the business? Okay, so what product, what service company what do you do?
Business consulting.
Business consulting. What exactly do you consult on?
And how to start a business and how to expand the business.
Okay, how to start a business, how to expand a business, right? So what if you only look for people that wanted to expand their business? For example, right? That's it. You're just looking for people. But maybe I feel I'm already there. And you're like, oh, well, that Carla can't be my client.
Right.
That is a huge misconception and a loss of opportunity. So what if instead you can look at it like this, and that is selling is finding people that have some degree, and I love this word, of internal conflict, and are looking to have, and this is the other word you want to underline, I'm going to talk a lot about this, and that is the experience to resolve that internal conflict. So in our conversation, Armando, I might think that I'm like at my peak of my business. You know, in 2009, when the economy was going like this, my business in like 6 months tripled. If you would have come to me, if Armando would have come to me during that time, I would have not been interested in talking to him. Because I would have been like, I'm good, Armando, like my business is growing, look. But if you could actually find an internal conflict, I am now possibly a prospect for you. And that's, I guess?
I don't.
You want to challenge that? I love it.
I don't
No,
really
go.
like that internal conflict, because sometimes you may find people that, yes, they are not ready to buy what you are offered,
Mhm.
but maybe you have a product that people are using it, but it's a product that you want to change the perception of the people.
Absolutely.
You want to create a new need for this very special product.
Mhm.
And then I know it's difficult to change the culture. It's one of the most difficult things that you have. But if you do it, that will take you to heaven.
You guys are like right here with me. And yeah, so, okay, I got that. Yes?
Perhaps internal conflict isn't the right word to use.
That he has, see, and this is what's really great. If you look at it, is the power of you in business, and that is what it is that you have in your business. And why I specifically talked about internal conflict is because it's something that's uneasy with them. Not that there's a fight or that there's something wrong. But there's something, for example, an internal conflict when I was growing my business could have been, how do I now, I was training about 120 people 3 times a week. So one of my internal conflicts, something that kept me up at night, I was like, how do I balance my life? That could have been something that could have been an uneasy for me. And I'm looking to have an experience that will change that. Okay? So actually what you said, we're going to talk about that. How do you help somebody see something that you want them to see that perhaps they don't see quite yet? Right, Guillermo?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. And then lastly, so here's my personal commitment, okay? And that is that by the end of this workshop, you will start to associate sales with the real enlivening experience. Okay, that when you think about talking to somebody about your sales products or services, it's something that excites you. Okay, so let's take a look at that. How are we going to do that? So this is the first element. Did everybody hear what Guillermo said? His concern? Did you guys hear back there? No? So do you want to repeat what you said? About how you change somebody's culture?
Yeah, what I said is that possibly you have a product that is that you think is so good that people are using that product, and it's just a product so common that people are using it, and they think, okay, we're happy with it. We are happy with it. We're happy with it. But maybe you have a product that will change that perception, and you will create a new culture that will find new things in that product that have looked so common, and that's not an internal conflict, but it's an enlightenment, I would say.
Yes.
And I know that is very, very difficult, because that's changing culture, and culture is one of the most difficult things to change. That was my question.
Okay, great. Yes.
Carla, maybe we could add one more thing for you.
And by the way, there's mics everywhere. If you can
Oh.
just speak into it, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you, Guillermo.
Maybe it's the unrealized internal conflict.
Okay.
Happy with sales. And if the question was asked, would you like to do more sales? Maybe, you're at capacity, nothing more can happen. But I think the question to open up the discussion of internal conflict again is, would you like to do more sales? And if the answer is yes, then maybe you do have an internal conflict, and Carla or some business consultant can help you do more sales. Does that make more sense?
I think what he was more, if I may, I think what he was more saying was that internal conflict. He was uneasy with that word. That every word, here's something you want to really take in, and I'm gonna talk a lot about this today, and that is every word creates a world for people. Okay, every word creates a world for people. So whenever, like for example, a specific word might trigger somebody, and I'm not a psychologist, okay, but if you think about this for a second, that is that I could say a specific word, like you could say those hangers, and for me, hangers mean a completely different world than it means for you or for you. Because I have this association with hangers that brings this experience for me. Does that make sense? And so he was thinking that so that word internal didn't sit well with him. So I then encouraged him to look at it like, what's an uneasy thing for him? Okay, so let's continue. So here's how we're going to start shifting this, enlightening. What did you say that it is? Having an enlightenment. Okay. And here's one thing: if you really take this one element to heart, it will completely change your relationship to sales. And that is this: that people hide. Think about this, okay? People hide. We all hide, by the way. We hide from each other, and we hide from ourselves. So let me tell you what I mean by this. And you touched on this a little bit, Guillermo, and that is when you're talking to somebody for your product or your service, or even when you're wanting to present something to them, and when somebody comes to you, they don't always tell you everything. They don't come to you. Let's take, for example, a selling of a house. I think we can all relate to that. Someone comes to you and says, listen, I want to buy a house. I want to buy a 3-bedroom home with 2 baths. They don't come out and give you like all the details. They're not that specific. They just tell you generally speaking. So one of the things you got to get is that people hide from each other and they hide from themselves. And many times it is that underlying premise that they don't even know what they don't even know. Okay, so we're gonna explore that. And that is what people really want is for you to find them. Okay, what they really want is for you to find them so that they can have a new experience and ultimately be discovered. Let me tell you what I mean by this. So I know I want you to keep your mind open because this is a really different concept of taking sales. I could sit here and tell you little techniques, but at the end of the day, who they're doing business is with who?
People that like.
With you. And people always buy what? The product or you? You at first. And so if you can get this concept, and that is that people want you to find them. And the only way, write this down, is by having an engaged conversation. Okay? Is by having an engaged conversation. And what I mean by that is this, is that instead of actually going in and just closing the sale, so someone comes to you and says, listen, Carla, I want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And I'm like, I've got the house for you. Okay? That's like wanting to go for the close. But instead, if you can actually look at it as an opening process, and every time they give you an opportunity for you to go deeper with them, like, okay, fantastic. And there's a word, I'm going to give you a little tip that I love to do, and that's recreate your clients. Okay, so you want to write that down. Recreate your clients. And that all that is when they say something to you, here's a little concept tool for your tool belt, is say it back to them. So if they say to you, I want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, right? What is your name? Monica. So Monica comes to me and goes, Carla, I want a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And I'm like, great, I have the house for you. Let's go see it. There's no connection there. She's going to be like, okay, right? And she might go along with it because you look like you're really nice. So you're like, all right, well, let me go look, right? But instead, if I actually sit with you and if I actually ask you questions, like, okay, Monica, what exactly, so do you have any children? And I start asking, I'm not going to go into the whole concept here, but I start asking questions, and it becomes this opening process, rather than just going, I hate this word, right? But rather than just going for the kill. Okay? And so many people, so many things you go to, people will do that, right? They'll show you, always be closing. Always be closing. And I'm one of them. And by the way, you got to close. You have to close. Do you guys know how many times it takes to actually close a sale? They say about an average of 6. Some need a little more, some need a little less, right? She says 3. Okay, you say 10. So it just depends on the person, but an average about 6. So as you're talking, you got to do about 6 closes before they actually say yes. But if you're just closing the whole time, people don't, and you've all experienced it. It doesn't feel good. But when you're actually with somebody and they ask you questions, and they get, and I love this word, I'm going to give it to you guys, and that is you get curiously engaged. Where you're not just engaged, but you're curious about what they want and what they need. And this is how it looks. So an opening process is actually facilitating another human being in opening up. And the key word there is facilitating. Because remember, people hide. Not everybody, especially if you get a shy client, they're not going to come to you and be like, spilling all the beans on the table or the cards on the table. They're going to be hiding a little bit. Well, I don't know. thing, I want this, right? And so, I don't know about you guys, but I know a lot of my sales teams, they would get so impatient. They're like, ay, Carla, me desespero. I'm like, dude, breathe, okay? Breathe. When all fails, breathe. Because you have to understand, people, when they got this, I go, you guys got to get, people are hiding. And I'm not going to sit here and take a whole psychology class, but it's because of what they've been through. They feel that maybe you're going to get them, right? Like, oh, are they out to get me? And they're like defensive. But if you can actually have a conversation where they feel good about being with you, they will start opening up. And they will start opening up. And then here's what's going to end up happening. Okay? So if you start mastering helping people open up with what they're really feeling, in this case, if that's relative, needing, if that's relative for your business, and wanting, your sales will drastically increase. So for example, I know, Veronica, she has a cleaning company. Imagine if she was like, okay, great. Maybe somebody goes to her and says, I'm not happy with my sales, with my my current cleaning company, and she's like, oh, don't worry, you're gonna love us. Right? And they might, because they love her and they trust her. But what if she actually has an opening conversation with them, like, tell me what was missing? Tell me what didn't work for you. I love that word rather than what didn't you like, because then it gets personal, right? So what didn't work? What didn't work for you? Why didn't that work? I love that word, okay? And you actually have, and you facilitate your client in this, you will notice that they will be like, huh? And then maybe she could then at that moment, if she sees it, if they say, well, what didn't work was this, and then she resolves that conflict by giving us better solution, now they're gonna connect with her like, she gets me, right? Do you guys get that? Have you guys experienced that? Like where you're actually you connect with people, right? So that's exactly what you're going for. So rather than being closing, you want to think about having an emotional connection with you in those first sales conversations. I'm telling you, if I could give you one tip that made a drastic difference of why I still make residual income from my team, was because I really helped them develop this concept. And that is the first impressions last a lifetime. What's that phrase? How's it go? Something like that, right? I can't even think. Okay, but yeah, something like that, right? Like the first impressions last a lifetime. And so for example, just taking Veronica as an example, if that first meeting with them, maybe this hotel, she's going to clean these hotels, and they're engaging, and she's inquiring, and she's finding out what's important to them. What is this hotel committed to? How can they serve the hotel in their mission, in their concept? Do you get what I'm saying? Then all of a sudden, they have this connection with her. And that's really what you want to go for, you guys, and that is this. That it is that emotional connection to you that connects them to something real and alive within themselves. So I'm going to let you sit with this for a minute. And that is, it is the emotional connection to you that connects them to something real and alive within themselves. Think about this. Because what ends up happening is, people at the end of the day, one of the human needs is connection. It's a human need. We must feel connected. If a baby doesn't have a connection, it actually can die, right? So when you have these conversations with them, and if you actually have this connection with you, it makes them feel alive with you. Therefore, it gives them a new experience of themselves. And it might be like, I feel good about that meeting. I feel good that I can trust Veronica. And they can leave there feeling at ease, rather than having that anxiety that most people feel like, oh, I just got sold. Like, oh, she got me, right? Yes.
I have a question, because
Yes, of course.
Can
Can you say your name so that we...
I'm Sylvia Soria. I work for Humana. It's a life insurance and Medicare plans.
Fantastic.
The Medicare plans are really very easy because you just educate the person and they do or they don't. But,
Okay.
But like for life insurance, I've come across where people, it's an intangible product. It's a service. It's something that everybody needs. But I've come across people that say, I'm not going to buy anything today. So, immediately they put up the wall. And, for me, it always makes me feel a little bit uneasy, and I get the connection thing, but that particular situation always makes me uneasy, and I don't know how to, I'm like, well, what? What do you say to that?
Okay, so I have something, but I know we have, yes?
That's good. I wasn't planning to close you today. or I wasn't planning to sell you anything.
Uh-huh, yeah.
You come right back and mirror them back.
With a what?
You mirror them back.
Okay.
Um,
What is your name?
Mitch Siegel. You know, everybody doesn't want to be sold today. And
Nobody
you
wants
have-
to be sold, they want to make a good decision. And
Right.
that's my take on, it's like nobody wants to be sold, that's like, feels terrible.
Okay, yes. Can you say your name and then?
Ricardo from El Aviso, and I understand what she's saying, but really, folks today are looking for a connection with like-minded folks. It's called looking for your tribe, you know? If you find someone that believes what you believe, they're more likely to buy from you instead of you selling it from them, okay? And there's kind of, you know, I deal with a lot of salespeople all day long, and there's really two types of sales. The first one we were talking about is solution selling. I'm thirsty, you have water, I'll buy it. But the other one is called insight selling. It's a problem what they don't know they have. Example, alkaline water. Did you know these benefits of the alkaline water? And if you believe your body's a temple, well, who doesn't believe their body's a temple? And that's kind of what's been helping us, you know, progress.
Absolutely, yes.
Hi, I'm Tanya Oliva. I'm a student from Cal State Fullerton. From my experience, from my classes I've taken and internships, they always tell us that first of all you got to get to know them, make them feel comfortable first, and then get to know if they actually have that need and find that connection where you can fill that need and you're the right person for them, because maybe they're not the right person, maybe they don't need the life insurance. So you have to get them talking and figuring out if they do need it.
Well, everybody needs it. They just
They
don't
know that they need it. And
Right.
here's the thing, Sylvia, right?
Yeah.
Here's one thing I've always been, and this is what I mean by people hide, and they bring their past experiences when they're in front of you. So for example, if I have been taken advantage of a lot, as an example, then when I go to you, I'm gonna have that concern. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But it may be, what is your name? Maria. But maybe Maria had never been taken advantage of, then you could say the exact same thing to me, and it will land very differently than if you say the same thing to her, because it will land very differently because we're different people,
Yeah.
right? So, and then the other thing you want to get is that, actually, that is, you want to get into their world. And what I mean by that is, well, first of all, is when somebody says that, I would highly recommend that you don't take it personal.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because it is a little hard. You're like, okay, then why are you in my office?
Well, that's the thing is that
Right?
why do we have this appointment? Because they obviously want to talk to me, but okay.
They don't want money.
First they throw up the wall, and you know, you have to work on breaking down that wall before, and that one always throws me. It always does.
And here's the thing, if you can reframe that as an adventure for you. So for example, when I was, training my guys, one of the things, Herbalife is a nutritional company. And I also believe that everybody needs a good nutrition. But then you have la tía or el tío that's like, do I have to give up my tortillas? Do I have to give up this? That kind of thing, right? And now it comes an educational and a cultural, as Guillermo said, process. And like for life insurance, a lot of Latinos, unfortunately, based on my personal experience, don't necessarily have that as a priority, right? They're like, algo vamos a tener que morir. It's all right? And so one of the things is like, so if you can look at that like, okay, that's just what they're saying, and literally just take it like that. That's just what they're saying. And most of the time, they don't mean it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in front of you. But get that what's saying that is not them. It is their past experiences that's bringing that in. Which is one of the things, one of the things that I would highly recommend, especially for those of you who want to master this thing, sales, and especially feel good about it, is that the more you get to know yourself, and the more comfortable you become with you, the more comfortable you'll be with anybody that's in front of you. Because it's really an unbelievable thing that when you get good with you, like the way you treat yourself really is the way we treat other people. Whether we realize that or not. But it really comes from all this, the more conscious, so I have these calls that I do with my team every week, and you guys are more than welcome. I'll send you the information. I do a lot of leadership and conscious calls with my team. They're 30 minutes once a week. And what they are, it's all about the basis of getting to know you. Because the more comfortable you become with Carla, the more comfortable I can be with Humberto. the more comfortable I can be with Maria. But if I'm hiding from you guys, I bet there's something that I'm uneasy with myself. And so as a salesperson, when you can find that connection and you actually have that engaging conversation and you get into their world, and what I mean by that is, what has them sitting in front of you? What has them wanting to come to your product or your service? And you start discovering that, they will all of a sudden, I say this like with a lot of love, I have 2 little dogs, and then they do what my dogs do, they go, right? They calm down, and you can even see it in their body language, that they really feel comfortable with you. But you first have to understand, it's not about you. They're putting up the wall based on their past experiences, okay? But thank you for that. So here's the thing, you wanna start discovering, what are their hidden needs, and so you can start getting into their reality. So how do we do that? And this is gonna go kind of into what Sylvia was mentioning, and that is that you take them on a journey to take them 10 to 25% deeper into themselves than they normally go. And taking life insurance as a perfect example, that's a really hard sale, right? Nobody wants to talk about when they die, right? But if you can actually take them into a journey and have them go deeper than they normally go and start getting to what's important to them and put the life insurance aside. Like, what kind of questions could she ask? What kind of questions could she ask?
Can you tell me about your
How many, the family? Kids?
I mean, that always comes to the heart. If
Why?
who's going to be left behind after you die.
So you start getting into their a world of what's important to them. What else?
Do you still have
Do you
your
have
grandparents?
aspirations for your kids to go to college?
Their future aspirations, right? Fantastic.
Protecting your assets.
Protecting their assets. What else?
Are your grandparents still here? Your parents still here with you? Because a lot of times they will say, oh, when my mom died, or when my grandma died, oh my God, everything went terrible, and then they can start to connect with their own stuff.
And here's the thing, when somebody opens that door, and this goes for everybody in business, whether it's business consulting, like, oh, when I had this problem, oh, when my grandmother passed away, the moment they open that door, that is your opportunity to go deeper. And here's how you're gonna do it. I'm gonna actually skip through some things here. Here's how you do it, okay? You start asking questions. And things like, what do you mean by that? Okay? And actually I can send you guys this presentation if you guys want.
Yeah.
Okay? So you ask them questions like, what do you mean by that? Okay? Or tell me more about that. Like, what happened? And you take them on a journey where they literally relive all those experiences. If you're selling, business consulting, then you go ahead and you take them on that journey. If you're selling a house, then you tell them, okay, these 3 bedrooms. When my parents were building a home, their architect was telling them, the architect came to them, and they met, my parents were 65, but my dad's was a professional marathon runner. So they love to be outdoors and stuff like that. But the architect saw my parents and thought, oh, these guys are retired. So they built this house that was very calming, soothing. Didn't ask any questions. He assumed that he knew what my parents wanted. So when he comes, shows them the blueprint or whatever those things are called, and my mom's like, my mom's really calladita te ves más bonita, which means quiet, you look prettier. And so my mom just bit her lips, and the architect goes, Emma, you don't like it? She's like, not really. And then she's like, I was thinking about this and this. And she now, the guy didn't tap into her emotions. Like, what do you want the house for? What do you want to use it for? And then my mom actually, so he did all this work for nothing. And then my mom's like, no, Beto, I was thinking about this. Y luego para la quinceañera de la nieta. And then if Carla ever gets married, and that's me, by the way. And, oh yeah, I have a balcony where a balcony where I'm gonna throw the bouquet. All right? Anyway, so that's a whole nother class. But, so my mom started telling, and Beto goes like, you want a party house? My mom's like, yes, that's what I want. And so the guy had to go back and do the whole work all over again. See, because so many times we think we know what they want. And it might be that we're right, but it might be that they're not. But the moment they open that door, you start asking them questions. And you take them on that journey, especially when it's something emotional, you can go really deep with them. I've gotten to the point, I'm not telling you that you need to do this, but I've gotten to the point where when I'm working with my guys and I'm planning out their business, like there's my sales team, and I got for example, so the way that my business works is I've got, let me see, I'm gonna speak in general terms. I've got like regional managers that are managing managers that are managing people. Okay, does that make sense? That's the way my business works, but that you can have an idea. So when I'm working with my regional managers, I really get that my team is a reflection of my top guys. If I can get my top guys going, they will be, ellos se van a encargar. They will be in charge that it twinkles down. When something's not happening down here, I don't look down there. I look at management. Like, what's going on over here that's not coming down over here? And so when I meet with my regional managers, like I just did this a couple weeks ago, and I start asking them, like, what do you want? What are your goals? And they start telling me all the superficial stuff. Like, I want to give my family a better life. And I say, great. What does that mean? What does that look like? And I start asking them, if you're selling products or services for consulting, like, I want to take my business to another level. Fantastic. What does that mean for you? And you start getting interested, curiously engaged, and having these questions, and all of a sudden, they have this connection with you that they, even if they want to go somewhere else, they can't. They just can't. Because let's say, Guillermo, what do you do for a living?
I own a coffee roasting company.
Coffee roasting company.
And coffee plantations.
Coffee plantations. Okay, great. So here's the thing. If I'm working with him and all of a sudden, like, let's say, I don't know, who's one of your clients? Who would be one of your clients?
Apple Computers.
Apple Computers. How does coffee?
We sell all the coffee that Apple Computers consumes all over the world.
Oh, okay. I'm like, how does coffee and apples get? Okay, I was gonna say, I don't understand your concept of why we sell things that they don't know that they don't need. Right? I'm just kidding.
I like to produce those great computers.
Okay. But when you said I sell coffee to Apple Computers, I literally, okay, see how the word creates a world. I got it. So you sell coffee to all the Apple retailers, the Apple company.
Actually, the Apple
Corporation. Okay, fantastic.
In the
Okay.
world, not only in the US, but Singapore.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice, Guillermo. Oh, I love it. Okay. All right. So here, I'm sorry, yes?
No, I was just gonna say, Apple does their own catering. Just like you
Yes,
would want to have a
exactly.
Bloomberg account or something like that, they provide their own in-house
Exactly.
coffee and everything else. So that's wonderful.
Awesome,
All
Guillermo.
locations are-
All right, Guillermo. So do we get
Oh,
discounts?
by the way,
Yes.
we took a Starbucks out of there.
We took Starbucks out of there. All right, But see, here's the thing. This is so perfect. This is the thing. I bet, and I can only assume, okay? I'm only assuming. But I bet that that's because they found something with you that they couldn't get with them.
It was, it had some psychology.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Even if look, I'll tell you this really quick story. I have this client, her name is Veronica. And she was one of my clients with my products in Santa Maria, California, and she owned a travel agency company. So every time she would always buy products, every time she would go on vacation, she wanted to lose weight, she would call me and I would help her lose weight and that whole thing, right? And then one day somebody else went to her and told her about, Herbalife, this and that, and they said what they said. But guess what? She called who?
You.
Me. Why? Because they trust me, but more importantly, because there was something that she could get with me that she couldn't get with them. Same product, okay? Because the company doesn't make a different product for Carla. It's the same product. But it is the experience that she had with me that she couldn't get with somebody else. And I bet that's what happened, right? The experience that they had with you, okay? So I'm going to go back a little bit. And the reason why is because here's what happens. What most people don't realize that they do is this. They go for the close. They assume they know. And what happens is people feel disconnected. Like they just don't get me. And you don't go deep and you just want to close in for the sale. And this is one of the things most businesses fail to train their sales guys is to actually care. Is to actually take the time. They say that if you invest up front, the time, you won't have to invest in the back end. And so many people just want to go in and close and go in for the sale. But what happens is they feel disconnected. And they feel like as if you really don't care. And ultimately, you leave them completely dissatisfied. And even if they bought from you because maybe you were a hard sales guy, and I know some people that are like, ay, nomás para que se fuera. Right? Just so that she would leave, I bought it. But they'll never go back to you. Never. Because the experience that they had was not very pleasant. Okay, so let's go. So here's the thing. this, it's what I like to call a vertical movement, is where you actually have a conversation with them where you go deeper and deeper but deeper, and that's these little things. Okay? So actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and do this. Let's put this in practice, okay? So here's the thing. You're selling business consulting services, and your prospect all of a sudden says to you, you know, we're having trouble keeping our employees motivated. My question to you guys are, what kind of questions could you ask them? What kind of questions could you ask them based on this concept that you want to go deeper with them? What kind of questions could you ask them? Yes, Veronica?
How can we improve your work environment?
How could what?
Improve your work environment.
How could your work environment improve? Okay, great.
Why are you saying that they are not motivated?
Okay, what else? Yes?
What are you doing to keep them motivated?
Okay, what are we doing? And what if they say like, well, I don't know, that's why we're nothing. I don't know, that's why you're here, because I don't know what to do. Now what do you say?
Do you know what motivates them?
Awesome. Do you know what motivates them? So many times, so back to my idea of my regional managers, so many times I want them to produce more. Because it benefits them, they make more money, and it benefits me. It's a win-win situation. But one of the things I found that was missing, and actually you can do this with anything, not just sales, but all your employees. One of the things that I found that was missing was I didn't even know what mattered to them. Okay? I didn't even know. I had no idea what mattered to them. So when I would launch promotions, some promotions would stick and some promotions wouldn't stick. And I'm like, okay, I don't understand. When they wouldn't stick, I didn't think it was because of my idea wasn't good, right? I thought it was because they were being lazy or something like that. When I actually sat down about a week ago, and I actually sat down with my team and started asking them questions. Like, why are you here? What has you working? In this case, you would say, like for me, or for the company. What has you working for this company? And they started to tell me, and I started to understand the world that they were in. I left them so empowered to the point that they were crying. Now, I'm not saying you have to do that, okay, with life insurance, okay? But you gotta get that when you get those emotional connections, it's real for them, right? And I actually started asking them, like, what motivates you? What drives you? And this one particular lady, her name is Ana Figueroa, she's from Los Baños. I really thought it was her kids. I really did. I thought because she loves her children. I really thought, you know what she said to me? She goes, you know what really drives me, Carla, when I think of the future? Is I want to make sure that I'm not a burden to my kids when I'm old. I had no idea. She's like in her 40s, and she's already thinking about the time that she's going to be retired. Why do you think that came up for her?
She took care of somebody.
Absolutely, because now she's got to take care of her mom. See, I didn't even know that. What's your name? Cece, I didn't even know that.
They've done that.
Right, and so here I am, Cece, trying to get her team to go, 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 go. But because she wasn't okay, I didn't even know what was missing for her. So all of a sudden I'm like, are you serious, Ana? She's like, ay, Carla, yes, yo no quiero, I don't want to be a burden for my kids. And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, great, so what does that look like? She's like, I want to have enough money so that Mayo and I, her husband, Mayo and I could retire and travel the world. Because I know my kids, they're going to leave. I thought her kids were her priority, which they are, but not really. You get me? She's like, and all of a sudden I got into her world and I'm like, okay, Ana, what do we need to do to make this happen? And now guess what? Now she's got her team. They're like, now she's asking her team, what's important to you? What are you missing? What do you want? What motivates you? How can I help you? And now her whole team is going. Los Baños is on the rise because my sales were going down. I'm like, what's going on? And I stopped and I started talking to her, and then I discovered that she wasn't feeling good. She wasn't being motivated, all because she wasn't working towards the thing that I thought she wanted to work for. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay? Right? See, she's like, been there, done that. I saw a hand back there. I want to be respectful. No? Okay. All right, so let's move forward. We're going to conclude this, and then I'm going to open it up for open it up for questions and answers. And that's this. With vertical movement, when we're going deep, you got to stop talking and listen. Okay? And here's the thing. Why do you think, and then here's the thing about, we're talking about Guillermo. When you have this deep conversations with people, it will actually support your sales culture. But first, which this is not my topic, but first you got to discover what is your sales culture. Okay? Because once you know what your sales culture is, you can then train your sales team through having those deep conversations and having the vertical movement that they can translate that sales culture into their client. So I'm going to give you mine. My sales culture with my team is to have connection, care, and to create results. Okay? So how I do this is when we do this, we have loyal customers. This is the outcome. This is how I tell my guys. If you care, if you have a connection, and if you get your clients results, they will be loyal customers. They will refer you like crazy. Therefore, my sales team will be successful. Therefore, my business will be successful. That's mine. So I encourage you, not our topic today, but I encourage you to look at what is your sales culture, what is the culture of your company, so you can start training your guys to do that. And then we're going to conclude on this, and that is, what do you think stops somebody from developing a connection with the prospect? So if you have somebody in your team, your sales team or your employee, and they don't have that, it stops them from making that connection. Why do you think that is? Yes. What is your name?
Hector.
Hector.
I'm with Televisa.
Okay.
I noticed that sometimes been in a situation where a sales team member is doing a presentation, but they're actually not focused, and they need to be focused on the prospect.
Why do you? So I got that. Why do you think? What stops them from connecting and being focused with that prospect?
Their ego.
Huh?
Their ego.
Their ego. What else? Yes.
Maybe fear.
Lack of knowledge, confidence.
Lack of knowledge, confidence, and what else you say?
Maybe fear.
You get the award. Yes, which is basically all the same thing. Fear, ego, right? It's all that, like, they're not feeling good about themselves, lacking confidence. Some people can't even look in the eyes. They feel uncomfortable. They can't hold a look because they're afraid. Okay? And here's the thing. They're afraid to have that silence. So I'm going to give you an exercise that you can take to your sales team if this will help you, okay? And that is, you get one person, actually, one of my girls back there, we did this exercise with her, where we sit right in front of each other, and you actually just look at each other and you say nothing. I see, look at you guys are already laughing because it's like nervous, right? So here's the thing I'm going to ask you. How do you feel about silence? I feel comfortable with silence. I don't have strong feelings either way, like you're indifferent. I get uncomfortable, but I do my best to allow it. I jump in when there's silence.
D.
Okay, who said, Cece said D?
A.
Right?
A.
So some people, they don't know how to be. Right? You know what I mean? It's like you're with them and you're like, and then you ask them a question, and the prospect takes what seems, especially, sorry men, when you have a man, they take forever to answer. Right, ladies? It's like you ask them something, you're like, did he hear me? So you've got to be able to be quiet and let them speak. Okay? Maria's like, yes, I concur. So here's the thing, okay? And that is, you want to make sure you have somebody to be, you want to start practicing that with your clients. You want to start practicing this with your employees, with your sales team. I'm telling you, it is a powerful exercise. You have somebody sitting right in front of another person, and you just hold the silence. And you will notice that your employees and your sales team will start giggling. They're like, and those people that can't hold silence, they'll say something. Like, wait, they'll say something, they just can't help it. Okay? So, you want to do that exercise, huh? You feel good with silence? Yeah, a lot of men do. It's mostly us women. We're like, oh my God, say something, right? Talk something. All right, you guys, so let's conclude this presentation. So that is, when you have vertical movement, you have an opportunity to do 4 things. You care, you challenge, there's competence, and there's curiosity. And number 1, you care. And this is the natural orientation you have towards yourself. Again, remember, it all starts with you. Others and the world. When you thrive for success, for your own interest and the interest of others. In other words, you actually care what they want, right? Like you care what they have to, what their concerns are. You care how to grow their business. You care how to provide good sales, good sales service with their coffee. Okay. Number 2, you challenge, and that is the willingness to confront the status quo that the prospects have, their prospects' current beliefs, the prospect's attitudes, and the prospect practices. Exactly what Guillermo was talking about. So if you can take on the challenge and confront what they don't know, that they need, and you're willing to go there, it's powerful. Because see, most of the time they don't know that they need life insurance. They don't know that what they're missing is the person that's going to clean the little corners, right? So if you can take them there, you can challenge that. With care, okay, with care. So you don't put anybody down. I don't think Veronica goes, well, no wonder your building is a mess. It's because so and so cleaned it for you. That would make her look terrible, right? But if you actually she can challenge that with care, it's phenomenal. Competence, and that is the foundation for expressing your care and your challenge, because you and your business have the real world skills and experience to deliver that products and services. So in other words, she shares that she cares and she understands what they need. Now she looks at the company that they want to go to. And lastly, the curiosity, and that is the never-ending desire to step out of your own reality into the prospects. By doing that with care, you challenge with competence so that you can achieve your goals while helping them achieve theirs. And when you do this, when you're really curious about what matters to them, they will feel found. Like, oh, this person gets me, right? Like, wow, they really get me. So, okay, perfect. We're right on time. And so, anyway, so this is what I want to do. So, in conclusion, and that's this: the key for growing your sales and making a sales experience alive and meaningful is entering your prospect's reality by going into the world of vertical movement and having conversations that ultimately give them an experience with you. Okay? So I want to open up the question for about 10 minutes of questions. Does anybody have any questions or any comments? Yes.
Comments?
Yes.
I just want to share that.
Your name?
Armando from Palm Springs. At the beginning, when I was doing the consulting, I always wanted to focus in the business. And then I noticed that as the faster, the sooner I focus in the people, because todo cambiaba.
Everything changed.
People cry, people open up. We spend sometimes hours talking about them, their spouse, family, sons. And then eventually we will get back to the business with a whole new perspective. And that's been helping, not me, but us to, me and the people consulting to later on focus more in the business. But first is the person, always.
So thank you for that. So consider that what you did is you gave them, listen to these words, okay? You gave them an experience of themselves in going deeper with themselves that they were not normally going there. And you facilitated that. Yeah, of course they don't want to. It's people hide. They're like, don't discover me. How is your business? Great. And then you look at the books and they're like, I know, I'm in debt. I don't know what to do, right? Because people, they hide. We don't have to, but most people pretend that everything is great. Okay, fantastic. And you know what about that, so one of the things I'm going to do before you guys leave, so I'm a co-creator of a program called Latina Entrepreneur Program with Dr. Yasmin Davids. And what we do this last year, we did a Latina Global Executive Leadership Program with USC. And we developed women in developing themselves as leaders. And yes, there were a lot of competencies that they learned, but most of it was developing themselves, their awareness, their consciousness. And one of the things that we realized was that the entrepreneurs have a very different need than corporate people. So next year, along with myself, Yasmin is launching a program called Latina Entrepreneur Program. And it's specifically for Latinas that are entrepreneurs that have a business minimum 2 years or more. And we're going to be taking them on a journey for 8 months on how not only to grow their business, they're going to walk out with the growth plan, but more importantly, how they will walk out being better people themselves. Because really the power of you in your business, it's you that will drive it, not the business itself. So I will make sure that if somebody can help me. Okay, fantastic. Okay, anybody else have any questions or any comments before we? Yes?
I have a quick question. I've been in sales for a long time, and there's been times where I've really focused on building a relationship, and it really turned into friendships. But when it came time to make a sale, they felt so comfortable with me that they weren't afraid to say no.
Yes.
So I guess my question is, how would you balance building a relationship with the sales portion?
Okay, so what's your name? Eric, this is by far my biggest challenge with my guys. Because when I first started to, so let me answer your question first. Well, let me do this. I'm gonna tell you why I think that it's a fine line, right? Especially when you work with somebody so closely that it's very difficult because all of a sudden you know things about them that it's like, ooh, okay, right? So I'll tell you how I did it. I'll give you a perfect example. One of my main ladies, her name is Martha, and Guillermo, and I know her entire family. And when they would tell me like, hey, you know, Carla, they would start asking me personal questions. I would make sure to not open up too much. See, what happens is people ask you questions because they want to know more about you. Or you ask them questions, I would be very careful what questions to ask them, because if I ask you a question, it opens the door for you to ask me the exact same question back at me. So number one, I made sure I only asked relevant questions that I wanted to answer about myself. That was the first clue. The second thing was, anytime that they would ask me a question, Lucy, can we get some more brochures? Can you ask if we can get some more? Thank you, honey. Anytime they would ask me a question that I knew was crossing that line, I would just smile. And like, for example, she would be like, Carla, how come you're not married? And I would smile and I'd be like, I don't know. I asked myself the same question. So about tomorrow, right? I wouldn't dismiss it. I wouldn't be rude about it, but I would dodge the question. Because what happens is, if I would have been like, well, let me tell you about my dating life. And all of a sudden now, I crossed that line. Or if she starts telling me, like, she would actually share a lot of personal things about her husband, about their relationship, you know? And when she would start going there, I'd be like, and I would kind of like cringe, and I'd be like, Martha, with all due respect, I really don't feel comfortable talking about this. Because then guess what? Now it's gonna taint my eyes on him. Because couples, they fight, and then tomorrow they love each other again, right? So I would be very careful. So what I would tell my guys is, make sure you don't mix too much business with pleasure. So when we would go out, I would make sure, like, especially if they come over to my house for dinner, I wouldn't until months within the relationship, personally. Because the moment you enter their home, it's like, now, I don't want to say now you're theirs, but you're like part of the family, especially if they're Latinos. So I would be very careful. They would invite me, like, I love nopales. They'd be like, Carla, hice nopales. And I'm like, oh my God, bring me some tomorrow. No, come. I'm like, I would love to, but I got things to do. Because all of a sudden, if I'm in there, now I see how they live, now they captured my heart, and now I can't be neutral about things. So I'd be super careful. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody have any other ideas for him? That's a really good one, by the way. Okay, anybody else? We have like five more minutes. I want to be on time. Yes, Veronica.
I want to share something about
Yes, of course.
I'm Veronica, by the way. So I have relationships with my customers, and there's customers I've known for 10 years. And I do go to their house for birthday parties, baby showers, and everything. But I always keep it very professional. You know, I don't drink at their parties because they're my customer, and they need to see me professional all the time. Sometimes I let the guard down, but not too much. And they do tend to want to ask me personal questions, but I just kind of like, there is that fine line, so I try to keep it, unpersonal as much as possible. You know, I'll do happy hour with them, I'll do lunches with them. They share a lot more than I care to know about them, but, they feel comfortable, and I just listen. I listen. I listen and just, tell them my experiences, but I don't share a lot of my personal life. Because they're my customer, and I really want to keep it professional, because I had one customer that we did kind of cross the line, and there was times she would call me about complaints, and she would yell at me. I mean, it's like, and I finally told my business partner, I want to fire this customer. Like, instead of her sending us a 30-day notice, it's like, I don't like her attitude, like, the way she would call and yell at me. But I crossed the line with her, so definitely you don't want it. So that was a lesson. I've known her for a long time, and I felt comfortable around her. And being single, it was like we had a stronger connection, and so we'd go out. Yeah. And that was my biggest mistake. And then afterwards, she's calling me about a complaint, and she would yell at me. And I'm like,
Let me write that coattail, and that is this. You want to write this down if you can, or just remember this, and that is, you're always teaching.
Yes.
You're always teaching. Always. So from the moment the first meeting, you're always teaching. I'll tell you, for me, I'm never late. Never. If I'm late, something happened. I'm never late. I never allow somebody to be disrespectful. I'm not disrespectful back, but if somebody does something, especially when I was 23, I was dealing with 40, 50-year-olds. And I remember this one time, this one guy said, you refer me as Mr. And oh man, I wanted to say something, because even though I was young, I was feisty. And I was like, bite your tongue, Carla. And I just smiled and I said, okay, I got that. you know, and I was very but I made sure he knew I didn't like the way he was talking to me. So you're always teaching, and you are completely, the first couple of sessions that you're with somebody, you will train them on how to interact with you, and you will train them on what they can expect from you. And the second thing I want to write on that coattail is be consistent. And it's challenging sometimes. I will confess that it's one of my biggest struggles sometimes, because if you start being a certain way with your client, they want, if you guys go onto my website, entrepreneurintelligence.com, I have all this series of audios, and there's this one audio, I believe it's under the Entrepreneur series, but an entrepreneur myth, and that is the whole concept of E-Myth by, I don't know if you guys have heard that book. If you haven't read that book and you're a business owner, it's a must read, okay? It's E-Myth, Why Most Small Businesses Fail and What to Do About Them. And one of the concepts that I learned in that book is that people want to be consistent with you. So he talks about this example that if you go get a haircut, and the first time you go get a haircut, the guy, you know, brings you some champagne or some wine and gives you a massage, and you're like, oh, this is great. And the next time they go, they do everything, but they don't bring you the wine. And you're like, whoa, wait, what happened? And then the next time they bring you the wine, but they don't give you the massage. There isn't consistency. And people like consistency. So you're always teaching, and be consistent. Okay? And we have one more minute. Anybody else? Speaking of being on time. E-Myth. E-M-I-T-H. And if you guys go onto my website, actually, and if you guys give me your business cards, I will be more than happy to email you this presentation, because I know sometimes it's really hard to write. I have, one of the things that I teach is like, let your light shine and share with the world, right? So I will be more than happy to share this presentation with you guys, and if you guys find it valuable, you can go onto the website and subscribe and get into all the information, and the audios are all there for you guys to go ahead and listen to. So
What's the website again?
it's here. I'll give you guys my business card. It's on here. Okay? Anybody else? All right, yes?
I just want to share also that when I feel that I get stuck with a client in a topic or something, I'll use somebody else. Another mentor, another customer. Hey, come on, let's get together. And I make the scenario happen. Share with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both same situation, and then they go.
Yeah, they'll always listen to somebody else. Absolutely, absolutely. I call that third-party validation, right? All right, well, with that said, thank you guys so much. And go ahead and take some business cards. If you want to give me your business cards, I'll send you the presentation. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and enjoy the California Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.